cyber liability also covers for acts of rogue employees that cause intentional damage. So if someone was laid off, they got fired, they are just disgruntled for whatever reason, their actions will also be covered under the cyber liability. The average cost for each data breach is $3.94 per victim. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but by the time you add all the attorney's fees and all of the regulatory penalties and fines, and of course any sort of private litigation, it's just going to go up and up.
When you say victim, do you mean the company or their clients?
Their clients.
So each person's information.
Yep, exactly. So what is your exposure? So what you were saying, you really have to ask yourself, what confidential information do you have in your possession? And where is the information located? Is it off-site? Is it in a laptop? Is it in a server backed away from the office? How often are you doing updates? And what security steps have you provided to safeguard the release of this information? So are the server rooms locked? Are the firewalls updated regularly? Do you have the ability to track who has data access remotely? Because a lot of people work from home, they're on set, they're working away from the house, and you just need to know exactly who has access to this PII. And if paper files contain sensitive information, of course, make sure it's locked after hours. Now, how is cyber liability different from media liability and errors and omissions? So media liability and E&O protect against defamation, invasion of privacy, as well as copyright and trademark infringement. It also protects for liability for physical injuries or economic loss caused by some error or negligent publication in the ideas or expressions contained in the published material. It goes on to say intellectual property rights infringement, content liability, breach of contract, loss of documents. So if you're a publisher, production company, consultant, and you have a breach of contract, the media liability or E&O will cover that. But if someone steals that laptop, if someone steals that information and they run with it, then you have a data breach on your hands. So the 5 reasons why you should have the cyber liability: it is more affordable than you think. You can get limits of 1 million aggregate, 500,000 per occurrence for around $1,500 for the year. And it can cover both the first and third party coverage, business interruption. So if you're unable to keep your business running, then you can actually get paid for 3, 6, 9 months of lost income. And it'll cover you for regulatory fines and penalties. Another reason is you probably don't have a risk management team. And 2 more reasons. Even if you don't host the data yourself, you're still responsible. So you have to ask, where is the data stored? Is it in a cloud? Is it hosted? And if for some reason your IT professionals somehow fail doing their job and there is a data breach, your policy will cover the IT people as well. And of course, as we know, the general liability will not cover any sort of cyber liability attacks.
So with the cyber liability policy, would it cover a company that, let's say that they have a terms and conditions and a privacy policy up on their website, and they fail to comply with their own terms? And maybe it's inadvertent, but they have this cyber liability policy, and let's say somebody, for example, they might get included in a class action lawsuit or something because they have some terms up. What do you think?
That is a slippery slope right there, because if the policy holder did not adhere to their own rules and regulations and privacy laws, that is not negligence, that's just stupidity. And I think once it comes down to the court's decision, I don't know if they'll really enforce the cyber liability, because it was their own wrongdoing. They just consciously made that, absolutely, yes.
How much protection is required? So, I know you're talking about locking filing cabinets.
Mhm.
You know, where is the cutoff, or as far as like on your computer, what kind of antivirus or anti-hacking software is necessary? How do you know if you have enough? Like, is Kaspersky or Norton Antivirus
Yeah.
something simple? Is that enough to say, okay, they did what they could to protect themselves?
Absolutely. And to also have, I mean, just double, triple protection on passwords, encrypted logins. But we at Pacific United, we use Kaspersky, and the firewalls are updated constantly. But we also keep credit card information, driver's license information, that's all hosted in a cloud. So we at Pacific United depend on the host provider to, you know, to cover us. But God forbid, I mean, if anything happens, our cyber liability policy will cover that IT screw up. Yes.
So do you find your clients are, you know, especially if they're smaller businesses or whatever, you know, industry coming and going, that they're just like, look, we can't do everything. We can't have triple encryption, this, that, and the other thing. We're just going to buy the insurance and lay off the risk. I mean, is that basically what we're talking about?
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Because, you know, like
Yeah,
you
they're
said,
small
even if
business.
the, you know, NSA is getting hacked, I mean, my little company is, you know what I mean? There's only something we can do.
Yeah.
You know, there's an old saying, there is no security. There's always somebody out there challenging all security. So, I mean, you can always ask the question, is it really secure? You don't trust nobody. But at some point, you gotta trust somebody, and somebody's trying to do something to protect you. So I would imagine that as long as you take reasonable, commercially reasonable, make commercially reasonable efforts to protect your systems, your insurance is gonna step in and protect you. You know,
Absolutely.
and like KJ was saying, is there a list or something? I'm sure that they do have a list of, you can get a list of best practices from an insurance company.
Right.
You know, that at least says, here's what's been considered reasonable in the past. I mean, for the future, you just never can tell, because you just don't know what a hacker's gonna come up with.
Well,
And
that's
that's
why
all
you're laying it off.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
Exactly.
because you want to keep your expenses low, right? And typically small businesses will get the insurance just to satisfy a vendor or a project and just keep their overhead as low as possible. And I
Right,
get
it's cheaper
that.
for me to pay you $1,500 a year than to hire a tech guy for whatever plus benefits.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's why it's, you know, as an agent, it's my job to ask you exactly what coverage you want and what your budget is and what you're willing to pay, because I can, of course, customize and shop out the policy depending on what you want.
But if they're changing the policy, do they have an obligation to inform you?
Yes, absolutely.
And then you can decide what you want to do.
Right. Yep. So usually that happens at renewal time.
There's probably something in the policy that says we have the right to make certain changes too.
Yeah, they have to give you 30-day notice.
Yeah,
but
well, of course.
Yeah,
But
they
there's
can do
probably
that.
language in there that none of us ever read.
Exactly. I know, because it's all these double negatives
But
and,
I'm sure, you know, that they have pretty good lawyers, you know, in the insurance industry. So can you tell us, so you don't just do entertainment in insurance, right?
No.
You can handle CGL, just any kind of regular business. What about life insurance? I mean, can you just kind of tell us?
yeah, sure.
an overview of
So
what you do?
I do property and casualty, which is different from life and health. And Pacific United also focuses on general contractors, artisan contractors, roofers, plumbers, electricians, concrete contractors. I'm actually on the board of directors for the San Diego Roofing Association. So that is also our niche. We can do janitorial services. I have a few restaurants and bars. So yeah, pretty much any type of business we can cover, but I really specialize in the construction side and the production side. So we do workers' comp, business auto, bonds, liability, E&O, D&O, directors and officers for nonprofits.
Do you do completion bonds for,
Yes, performance and bid and all that good stuff. Yeah. Yes.
Do you do key person?
Yes.
You notice how I said that?
I know, right? Yeah,
Do you have a
so,
card, business card?
yeah, absolutely.
You might want to give them out to everybody.
Okay,
Because everybody's going to want to go talk to their clients about
absolutely.
cyber